welcome to episode 9 of the Women in Nautica Podcast. I am Ana Čalić, your host and also the founder of Women in Nautica, the leading inclusivity initiative comprised of a conference, podcast obviously, and a magazine that focuses on the strengths and experience of women in the boating industry. For today, I have a special summer episode where I will take more time to talk to you directly about several things, about new trends, new things happening in the industry, the general state, but also some things affecting us one way or the other. So, to dive in, a topic I'm super compelled to talk about is AI, artificial intelligence, and its widespread use nowadays. So, if we're looking at our industry, it's very specific in the sense that it's very technical, it's often very much based on custom projects, and it differs from any other industry in the world, both from the way it started, from the way it's been formed, how different market fluctuations affected it, also world phenomena like COVID. So a bunch of things affected how the industry is now, which products are there, which services are there, and also who the end consumers are. Speaking of which, I think that everything which is applied to the boating industry needs to go through some sort of adjustment. Either a mainstream software or any type of digital service, whatever it might be, it really needs to be adjusted to our industry. And of course, this adjustment may sometimes be a nagging task because maybe you would like to enjoy a plug-and-play solution, but in the end, since everything is quite bespoke, this is the result also that we get. So this type of tailored solutions and adjustments might not be as bad as we think. So this brings me back to AI and all of the tools which are being used at the moment. So, of course, ChatGPT and Grok are very, very similar in the sense that they're both free versions, paid versions, and looking from a broad perspective, you can use it also in the boating industry for quite some general things like social media strategy, if you want to expand also your business development strategy, or if you need any advice or want to gather some data but want to do it like in a short and efficient time. Maybe also if you want help with email marketing, whatever. So quite a few things you can do with that while you're busy with other things. Another tool which I have been exploring for the past week, it's called Sintra. And it's basically this interface that has like digital employees, but it's all just different chats. It's only that they're divided in several segments. So you have business development, email marketing, technical support, or actually customer support, I believe it's the name. So don't take me word by word. And like personal helpers and virtual assistants. So it's interestingly divided into, let's say, marketing, sales, a bit of development, but they also have these two helpers which are like helping you in your personal life to maybe assist you with work-life balance. So that's quite an interesting addition to the whole story. Anywho, but the concept is basically the same, that you go, it's within the chat and you type your prompt and you get an answer. So it's a cool thing to do when you have a bunch of different things waiting on you, which require like personal effort. But still, I do believe that due to the industry's specificity, but also human touch, which is valued a lot recently, because it shows you that something is crafted personal from the heart and with a specific touch. I do believe that everything requires an adjustment. I don't have personal knowledge about any AI tools which are specifically crafted for the boating industry. So if you do have any news or any interesting takes, feel free to contact me on LinkedIn or shoot me a DM. I would like to learn more. But definitely coming back to the adjustments, they are needed because at the end of the day, we all want to develop trust with the people around us and develop authentic connections, because that's a thing that doesn't only propel the industry forward, but also our personal connections. And honestly, even if it's a business contact, if you're using AI prompted answers on texts, it's not going to show reliability and it's not going to show professionalism. And being different from everything else is quite important nowadays to show that you care and to show that the solutions and the product which you're offering at the moment are not mainstream. So one conclusion would be that AI is a great tool. However, there's the backside of sustainability, so that the servers which are needed for the functioning of all of these AI tools, they're using a large amount of water. So I'm trying to be as conscious as possible about that, which is not possible always, but sometimes it is. So that's one thing. And then the second is always data control, data usage, data breach, anything data related. But yeah, at a certain point, you need to not think about all of the things, but just do some things. Otherwise, you will get scrambled in your own thoughts. What if this happens? What if that happens? So yeah, it's a good tool, but it still needs adjustments, and I prefer to craft my emails and also my social media by myself, because then I know that I really did pour my heart into it and I will be able to reach more people authentically. And this is also quite important in our industry in these times. So, to be frank, it's been a difficult year, starting with last year as well, a bit, for the boating industry. So from the COVID boom, everything, let's say, shifted from a very high to quite a low. So the demand is low, the stock is high, and consumers want different things or are more cautious with their spendings. These would be the main takeaways one can hear from different boat shows and different stakeholders in the industry. So the question is how to flip the switch and create something new or reinvent the wheel, or just approach people with your own authentic service and product and show them that you're different, that you're not AI, and that you're actually doing something that differs from others. So I spoke about several strategies in my last newsletter on LinkedIn, and one thing would be diversification as a strategy to get out of this situation, or at least to mitigate the inevitable downturn of the industry. So diversification, in my opinion, shouldn't be clutter, and it shouldn't mean, okay, if I'm not currently distributing this type of equipment, I should stock up on 75 other brands. Or if this type of vessel is not currently being sold, I'm just going to take into my dealership 50 other brands. I think that diversification should be very well thought through, and it should be a long-term strategy, something that's going to work in 5 to 10 years, and also something that is quite complementary to your existing portfolio. Because in that way, I believe you're showing yourself as a high quality company who is thinking forward and also thinking how to benefit its existing clients by adding something new into the portfolio, which is diversifying, but it's also something complementary. So maybe if you offered by the time being only outboard engines, which are on, let's say, gas, then if you start offering maybe electric outboard engines, you will be able to not cater only a new audience, but also your older audience if they want to change to a more sustainable solution. So this is what I think is the true core of diversification, which is going to help this situation. So something that is going to help you make a positive change, but it's not going to create unnecessary clutter because you will be lost in the 5 to 10 new brands which you want to distribute just to reach a higher audience, but you don't know with what cause and with what strategy and how are you going to target them and what's going to be the message, and in the end, how does it relate to the core values and also mission of your brand. So definitely diversification is one of the keys and it shouldn't be neglected, but it really should be thought through, and it shouldn't be something that's decided in 5 minutes in times of chaos and doubt, but something that actually will work for you even when the industry is quite different, when it's experiencing another boom. So in general, it should work for you. The second thing would be to ask and to listen. So to ask your clients, ask your suppliers, ask your partners. So to get as much insights as possible about everything, basically. So ask them about how your products have performed. Were they satisfied with your service? Were they satisfied with you and your team? Have you performed and exceeded their expectation, or was it more like, something not so peachy? So ask them, and you can have this type of relationship with basically any stakeholder within the industry, because out of these insights you can build basically your own mental map, or just a map with some keywords, and you can see patterns. Because what I believe is that we can learn best if we want to really develop ourselves and be different, if we learn from our own mistakes, our own wins, our own benefits, and our own history. So if you see a pattern within everything you've spoken about with different people, then this pattern means something. If you say positive words and words of affirmation, and those people are happy with your product or service, then of course you're doing something right. However, also when you're doing a lot of things right, there's always room for improvement, always. Every day is a new opportunity to get 1% better at anything, literally from business to personal. But yeah, and if you see a negative trend, then this is something that you should keep an eye on. It's easy in the sea of different informations, emails, meetings, and just words to not notice that maybe there is an underlying pattern or something that's not working within your strategy, within your commercial terms, within your team. It's easy to not notice this, but if you put it in a map and in a pattern, then definitely. So to sum up, basically, you be your own teacher in these kind of situations. So communicate with everyone in the industry and gather insights, form them in different groups and look for patterns, and then see what you can learn from these patterns. Also, one thing, if there's a pattern which is very positive in the sense that you had a peak in the past, try to identify what made that peak a peak. It could be also a useful lesson. But yeah, in the end, the client is the king, and serving the new requirements and building around them is what propels our industry forward. So not only individuals, not only companies, but everyone else in the industry too. This brings us to another question, at least one of them in the sea of all questions which you can ask yourself when you're looking at ways how to be different and how to move your business forward, is how are you perceived as a company? Are you perceived as professional? Are you perceived as trustworthy, reliable, or something else? How do you communicate with your clients? How is your digital presence? How flexible are you towards both your suppliers and your clients? Is word of mouth doing you a favor? These are all things that matter and all things that should be taken into account when you're trying to develop basically anything within your work. It's not that only we need to think of our digital presence, we need to think of our physical presence, how we show up at boat shows, how communicative are we, how does this align with the tone of voice and the people we're presenting ourselves to be online, and how approachable are we, how open are we to new collaborations, to new products, new services. Can we identify how can something be complementary to our work, and can we actually identify opportunities for ourselves for growth? So just a bunch of questions you can ask yourself, and in the end they're going to lead you to craft a specific image that can be either finely retouched or revamped completely, all in the end goal of making the customer happy and satisfied, and of course returning to you for your product, services, or whatever you offer. So basically, have I said anything revolutionary in the last 15 to 17 minutes? Not in particular, but sometimes it's easy to overlook the obvious, especially in the times of bliss when everything is going great. You get used to the routine that inquiries are coming in and that everything is going very smoothly. But when you're entering in a different type of industry phase, it's time to ask ourselves. And actually, it's a good opportunity for change, and change is the only constant, and I always perceive change as positive. Always some type of rerouting doesn't have to mean it's something negative. Actually, it's opening new doors and crafting something new and interesting. So this would be a bit of the trends and of the state and of ways how you can actually develop and learn from current industry situations. But also how you can learn is by attending our conference. I'm going to wrap up with a bit of information about the conference. So as you already know, it's taking place on the 19th of November 2025 at Medstrade in collaboration with Medstrade. A few people asked me this, like, is it in another building or so? No, it's where Mets is, that's where WIN is. So it's rooms D203, D204. And once you enter the theater, you will take the elevator, but there will be signs everywhere how to reach the spot. So we announced the program, and with one more spot extra left, now we fulfilled our program almost fully, and I'm super happy how it looks. We will have different international speakers, and we're going to talk about different topics from electrification, marketing, business development, maritime safety, maybe also a bit of finance. So it's going to be really let's say shorter variant, because it is a half-day conference starting at 9:30 and ending at 1:30, so it's not a full day, so you can get back to your meetings and work life at METS. But it's going to be very educational, and this is the feedback that we got on last year's conference, that people were really interested, they really listened, and this is something we want to keep up. We're still developing our sustainers list, but so far I can give a huge shout out and thank you to the existing sustainers and media partners for helping us in crafting this year's conference. and just making everything better together. So if you go on our website, womeninautica.com, on the speakers list, you can find almost every speaker and their bio. So I encourage you to go online, get to know them, see what they do, where they worked, and maybe you identify your potential future partner or client or supplier or mentor, who knows. Anyhow, I would love to meet you during Women in Nautica. And also a small teaser, at the end of this year's conference, we will announce 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 new tiers of the program, which is super exciting. And yeah, I'm going to slowly wrap up this episode with this take, and I will talk to you in the following episode, coming relatively soon. Stay tuned on our social media about any updates. So on Instagram, it's WIN_Women in Nautica, and on LinkedIn, it's only Women in Nautica. And our website, I already told you. For any extra questions, you can always reach out to me via LinkedIn. And I am wishing you a great rest of the day. Bye.